It's been a while since we've checked in with Vinnie Paz, Jedi Mind Tricks, and it's going to be a dangerous trip inside this man's brain, but we're here for it. You're here for it. You know when he's got so many things going on, individual, group projects, that he's been busy, probably a hermit, hasn't probably seen the light of day in a month. Vinnie, what's happening, brother?
I'm good, bro. Thank you for everything, man.
Yeah, no, listen, man.
Out for us, man.
You kidding me? I'm excited. I'm honored.
No,
let's talk about you. Let's talk about everything going on in your life. We'll touch on other things. I know you're a gigantic boxing fan. And
yes, sir.
Here in Philadelphia, we have to talk about our Eagles, and we'll get to all that. But
yeah.
You are so busy, from projects, studio projects, to tours.
Yeah.
Let's start with the album out already, Bridging the Abyss.
Yes, sir.
How was that formulated, and how long did it take you to actually get that out?
I guess, well, the prior record was like June 2015, so I think it was exactly 3 years. I did a solo record in between it, but we were working on it the whole time. Just like the process became where, like, I feel like, actually I'm reading this Van Halen book, right?
Right.
And they were talking about the machine from that era where it was like, tour, come off the road, knock out an album. Tour, come off the road, knock out in like 2 weeks. They were recording those first couple albums, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the quality control wasn't there by the third album, you know, it was like a cover album. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think we were like, yo, to allow ourselves time, as soon as we're done, we'll just start on the next shit, but we'll work slow as shit comes naturally, you know what I mean? So realistically, you could say we were working on it for 3 years, but not, you know what I mean? Not consistently, because there's tours in between, and I did a solo record in between, you know what I mean? But yeah, we recorded a lot of shit for it too. Like
over the time.
Yeah,
right.
Well, we never did that before. Like when we were younger, like everything we did made the record. You know what I mean? This is the first record where there was like extra shit.
So how hands-on are you in something like that? Because if it's the first time you're doing this, I imagine you're standing over everybody being like, no, that goes in, no, take that out.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's the gift and the curse, having that type of personality, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's why, like, it's why my business operation is a two-man operation, because both of us are sort of like the very old philosophy of like, if you want something right, do it yourself, you know what I mean? There's so many levels to it that we can't control that I wish we could.
Right.
You know, at some point you have to.
There's nothing worse than that feeling of having something that you've created and handing it over to somebody that you know or trust.
Sure.
And it's not in your own hands.
That's what this business is. It's like, you know, when people say like, what's your favorite album that you made? What's your favorite song? Like, I don't listen to my own shit. Once it's done, it's not mine anymore. You know what I mean? When I'm in the studio, it's still mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? When I'm recording, it's still mine. Once I've passed on the mix, like, yo, this is right, then it's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've talked often about like dudes who drive around listening to their own shit and how bizarre I think that is. Like real self-involved shit, you know what I mean? But again, it's like culturally, rap is like, it's really the only culture where you're expected to be self-involved and egotistical, absolutely. You know, but for me, it was like, I always saw legends and shit being egotistical, rhyme-wise, is part of it culturally. But some people take it into their real life where they're talking about being the greatest, and you know what I mean? You're talking about a dude no one knows about. Right. I'm one of the best, I'm one of that. I'm like, whoa, no. That braggadocious shit was part of the rhyme shit. Like, I'm the best. No one can fuck with me. That was the rhyme shit. Not so much like, you're not supposed to be like that as a human being.
Right.
You never saw, you know, anyone from amazing reggae or rock bands or metal bands being like, yo, no one's iller than me. Right. There was humility in all that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like humility is frowned upon in hip hop culture, which is just odd and sort of clashes with how I was raised.
Has that gone, though, more so in the wayside since hip-hop has become such a big mainstream thing? Because you're right, I can remember same age group growing up with old school, as now it's called, 80s, 90s hip-hop. And it didn't matter if somebody was big and was pumping out big product, but you had a sense of humility when you went and saw and did interviews. And it's different when you're on stage. Like that's your persona on stage.
Of course.
But when you're out and about, you would get that and you would get this interaction. And I feel like now, even with social media, because you, as an MC, you can connect with fans on a daily basis on social media. So now as this culture and this music genre has gotten bigger, I feel like it's been more removed from the day-to-day. Maybe people can be less humble, the younger kids at least.
Yeah, I don't know where the disconnect came, you know. Is it social media? Is it the ability to just say and do anything without necessarily having to back that up, which is more bizarre. It's not like people that are saying it are people that are platinum and multi. It's like people that you're like, who is this person?
Right.
Saying it.
And then all of a sudden they get a name because they said something.
Right. You're empowered by this thing and saying something crazy. You know what I mean? Which
Absolutely.
is it's just sort of, and when you're disconnected from that, you have to be connected to that on some level, whether or not you're part of that generation or not, because that's how these kids move today. So you have to stay, you know what I mean? Whether it's Instagram or Twitter or whatever, but it's like how you use that tool, it's no different than a weapon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's essentially a weapon, but how are you using the weapon? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you can use it in a dangerous manner, and that's how I see people using it, or you can just be, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it's always like everything is based on humility until you get like kids who talk greasy and shit that you want to slap. That's a whole other thing, but that, you know what I mean? That's someone being aggressive towards you, which is like,
it's removed from this.
Yeah, that's removed. You know what I mean? Like anyone who's polite and respectful to me, I'm the same way back, or more so. You know what I mean? But I don't know where that shift came. You know, I'm not really sure. But like you said, the bigger it gets, the more you're dealing with something where it's like some of this shit isn't hip hop. Like it's other genres. I think at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's splintered off into so many. You know, like, could you play a Cool G rap record and a Lil Pump record and be like, this is the same thing?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
So it's like, are we going to start giving things different names, or are we just okay with an umbrella where it's like, well, it's a different style of hip hop?
Well, right. It used to be commercial and underground.
Sure. It was super easy to identify. Yeah. Even if stylistically it was different, like even if it was some West Coast shit, you'd be like, yeah, that's underground shit.
Right.
And then there's people who like are on MTV, you know what I mean?
Right, like when Souls and Dell and they popped up on the West Coast, you've got more of than something that might be more mainstream like Q. But
absolutely.
Still, now you're right, you've got so many different types of sounds to identify.
But we also come from an era where a lot of the people that were going platinum were still dope.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Q was going gold and platinum, NWA had like #1 records, and they were that was like cultural shifts they were creating. You know what I mean? I don't know that. Like, if you think of who's still incredible doing that, it's like, who's really left? Jay, maybe? That's still, you know what I mean? Still amazing and still, in terms of pop culture, like a relevant name, you know what I mean?
But even his last, like the 444, got mixed, and not in sense of positive or negative, but just from a different age group. You saw like the older fans appreciate it more, younger Jay fans like, what is this?
Bro, a close friend of mine said his daughter is called Jay-Z Dad Rap. I was like, yo, I never heard that, but that's a mockery.
Yeah.
But that's crazy,
right?
Man.
That's where we are right now.
That's where we are, apparently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let me ask you, you brought up this is the first time on the album where you guys had to actually cut stuff out, and it wasn't just jamming everything in there.
Yeah.
How difficult was that for you? Because it's like the cutting floor on any type of video.
It's horrible for me, man. I'm the worst at it.
What's good? Does anything happen with the stuff that gets left over?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know what we're gonna do with it. You know what I mean? There's some stuff from back in the day that we found, like from demos. You know what I mean? Like if that's a project that we, if that's something we want to cultivate, I think it's there. You know what I mean? Like demos from the early '90s,
right,
to stuff that didn't make that record. But I'm awful at that, man. Like I'd be terrible if I made films. They'd all be like 3 hours. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you why.
Do you have the attention span to sit through a 3-hour film? Because you're making one.
Right.
You have to back it up, right?
No, but listen, here's what it is. What it is with Stoop and I, that I try to edit before it gets too far anyway. Like I could be at the studio midway through, I'm like, this song isn't working, let's just dead it. Whereas other people go through with it and they might have a 14 song album and they might be like, oh, we recorded 25 songs. That doesn't happen because I never let whack shit get that far.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So
that's always been you?
Yeah, always. There's never been this like stream of unreleased music because we've always been like, all right, well, this is we have what we feel is the record. You know what I'm saying?
So on one hand, it's easy because you've already done this, but on the other hand, anything that you cut on this album, you know already wasn't whack because you pushed through.
That's how I feel about it.
So it's like your child. You can't.
That's how it is with me. You know what I'm saying? And like with the most recent solo record, I have so much shit recorded because I just hit this surge, and I love it all. So it was like that was mega hard too for me to make it. I mean, now you put like, all right, the Nas record and the Pusha T record, they had like 7 songs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, as you these cultural shifts happen, it's like, do you want to play that game or do you not give a fuck about the game? Like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? If I want to do a 19-song record, then that's what I'm gonna do. But it's like, you also have to accept certain realities, and that's like, the attention span of these kids is like, it's non-existent.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, you understand that because of what you do too. It's like, we have so much in common that way, where it's like, you have to constantly, it's like, it's constant movement with these kids.
No, you constantly have to remind people what's going on. Like, I can't talk about something for 15 minutes straight. I have to reset. I could talk about one thing 5 minutes 3 times in a 15-minute segment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at that standpoint. And it's the same here. Like, you could have a dope ass 5.5 minute video.
Yeah.
But you put it out there and then you run risk of people tuning out 2.5 minutes in, no matter how fire it is.
I can't imagine that working in this era. You know what I mean? Like shit that, I was listening to the Crown Rulers record recently, and I was listening to it on vinyl. Remember they used to put the length of the songs like on the vinyl? And like every joint was like 5.5 minutes. I was like, yo,
can't do that.
This is like 3 songs now.
Right.
Like I was watching a Little Pump video and it was under 2 minutes, and I was like, yo, that's a shift.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy, culturally to have like a minute and 40 song, you know what I mean? It's just.
Do you have to craft differently? I'll give you an example. If I have a 4-minute segment on the air as opposed to a 20-minute segment, it's harder for me to talk in 4 minutes than it is for 20.
Of course.
I imagine it's the same with you. If you know you have to put a track out that's 90 seconds max.
Of course. If I'm just talking shit, it's not hard. If it's just ignorance, that shit's easy. But if I do a concept record, I'm constantly like, yo, man, I don't know how to be succinct when I'm talking about problems in Syria or refugees, or you know what I mean? Like, and that shit gets complicated if you're like discussing Howard Zinn in a rap record. Like, how do you make that 1 minute and 40 seconds? It's not. I don't even know that it's possible. I'm not even sure that it's possible to do that. So you just. But again, it's like I don't know that Lil Pump is gonna broach those subjects.
True.
In the first place. So it's like
it's designed for shit talking.
It's designed for that. You know what I mean? No, like, and it is what it is. Like I said, it's like I don't know how to refer to it because you have like purists who are like, that's not hip hop, and then I'm like, okay, then what is it then? Let's start distinguish. You know what I mean? Like because when you were talking about like mainstream and underground, right? And then like a little bit later, there started being like other names like alternative hip hop, or you know what I mean? Like they started sneaking in a little bit to the point where like, there was a bunch of other names like that were descriptive of that genre. Almost subgenres. Yeah, subgenres, and that's how that shit is. Is it trap? Is it drill? You know what I mean? Like what is it exactly? And where do you find yourself mixed up in all of that? You know what I mean? Like
what's crazy is it feels like battle rap is coming back to an extent, but it's also forcing people to be better MCs.
Yeah, well, you can't get away with certain shit with certain people.
Right.
Like a certain age group, you can. You know what I mean? Because they're just like, this is what's hot.
Right. No matter what you put out.
No matter what. So for a certain generation, but it's like there has been a backlash of like, no, we want lyrical shit. You know what I mean? Or we want more traditional hip hop. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily like, I don't always want to throw the word boom bap out there because that is a sound. You know what I mean? But just like traditional hip hop and where it came from and where did it start and why did it start there? You're talking about like a culture and music that started in the South Bronx, based and created out of nothingness and desperation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like those early records into the 80s and late 70s into the 80s and 90s, there was like those people took social issues seriously. You know what I mean? Like look at The Message. You know what I mean? That was 35 plus years ago. You know what I mean? And then people carried that on. Public Enemy and X-Clan, you know what I mean? And Cube and them carried it into the 90s, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think people sort of, they're like, where is that? Who's doing that?
Well, you're doing that.
You know, I'm trying, you know what I mean?
How do you balance that? I'm sure you've been asked this question before, so instead of looking at it generic, let's look at it specific. How do you balance attacking a Jedi album like what was just released versus your own solo album coming out?
Well, the Jedi,
these two specifics.
The Jedi record, there's handcuffs on me that I made myself. You know, when you're doing something for as many years as we've been doing it, there's handcuffs there because there's expectations of the sound. You can't you can't throw as many curveballs sonically because it's like you look at.
Why? Because you have a niche group audience, or
I just think like I'm not comparing myself to their greatness, so let me put that out there first. But
compare yourself to whoever. It's just you and I talking, man.
Right.
Compare yourself to whoever you want.
No, but like when we were younger, it's like when the new Tribe album came, you expected what you expected. When the new De La album came, even though they were innovative within that realm of who they were, you still expected what you expected. Whether, you know what I mean, to Wu, to PE, to whoever, there was a sound that we cultivated. You know what I mean? And for us to deviate from that sound, it's like, it's sort of your responsibility.
I got you.
But it becomes sort of where you feel like you're handcuffed after a while. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it in a negative way, although I guess it seems that I am, you know? But it's like
Would you like to break out and do more different shit on a Jedi album? Is that what you're asking?
I don't want to make dance records or anything. You know what I mean? But
please don't.
There's just
although
like,
I would be interested to hear what one of those tracks would sound like.
I am too. I feel like everyone deals with that. It's the reason you have people do solo records historically in rock, rap, whatever. Why did they do that? Because they felt that they're obligated to make a certain sound with their group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And satisfy the hunger for that sound. You know what I mean? And so it's not a bad thing to have people love the sound that you created. You know what I mean? It's like, but handcuffs are a real thing. It's not. I'm not gonna pretend like it's not there. You know what I mean?
But you get to walk. Basically, you get to have your cake and eat it too, because you get to stay true to that sound that you've created with the Jedi album.
Sure.
And then you get to push any area or realm, not dance track realm, but you get to push other areas with a solo.
Of course.
So that's what we can expect from the solo album.
Of course. Yeah. Well, the thing is, man, it's like everything is perspective. It's like I can talk about handcuffs, but at the end of the day, I'm still doing what I love to do. That's still like my most favorite shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Rhyming over stoop beats is still my most favorite shit. It's just, there's just a reality to it of how, you know what I mean? Sonically, we've created this thing. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. You know what I mean? With the solo record, it's like I'm working with different producers, or so just there in and of itself, it's going to be different.
Did you have a specific concept for the Pain Collector that either you've been thinking about, or did something organically pop up?
I just got a creative surge and started recording mad songs. You know what I mean?
Does that happen a lot?
No.
So something changed.
Never.
Was there a life change or something that?
I think not being drunk all the time.
Hey, that helps.
You know what I mean? And then I was writing every day.
Yeah.
I record every Thursday night and every other day I write. You know what I mean? And that wasn't happening before. So it's like I'm just recording and moving at a pace that I never moved before. You know, when my new record drops, it'll be from September, whatever it is, like within the calendar year, there'll be 3 records that came out. You know what I mean? I was never capable of that before because I just wasn't in that state of mind. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, it's hard to get motivated when you're living like that. You know what I mean? And then when you have clarity, shit shifted. I was like, nah, I want to, if this is how I stay busy, you know what I mean? This is how I stay out of trouble. So it worked out well, you know what I mean? But
was it just a day where you woke up? Like felt that way?
Yep. I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm done. Yeah. That's it. You know what I mean? There's not really any rhyme or reason.
No, there doesn't have
story,
to be.
You know?
Right? No, I'm not even trying to mine it. It's just a lot of
times.
No,
I would tell you if there was.
No, I figured.
There's no.
But just to have that now, the reason why I ask is because you've gone through that in one aspect of your life, and I've done it in a certain area, and a lot of us, I think, have gone through it. If it's a vice or if it's something that's allowing us to see clearer, that you now can recognize it for different areas in your life moving forward. It's almost like it's a sign.
Of course.
That you can now look forward and use in your life.
Yeah, I had no idea what that decision would lead to. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I'm going to do this so I could maybe be more creative, because I didn't know that would be a result of that. You know what I'm saying? I had no idea what it would do. I was just tired of feeling like shit. It wasn't something...
It wasn't like pre-planned or
no, because I didn't know. I was wondering like, yo, am I going to become less creative? You know what I'm saying? Because some people have to get high to write. Some people have to drink to write. Some people have, you know what I mean? To do certain things, to quell their nerves or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was definitely like, I was a bit concerned about how, you know, what would happen from that, you know what I mean? But I was just tired of feeling awful all the time, you know what I mean?
No, I feel you.
So the fact that came from that was like, oh, wow, this is crazy, you know what I'm saying? You see it like in other parts of your life too, you know what I mean? Like being a better friend or whatever, you know what I mean? Like just being more self-aware, because when you're like that, it's like, it's the easiest way to avoid the reality of situations is to be fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get it.
That's the simplest way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Rather than like attacking something head on, is to like sort of sidestep it. You know what I mean? And then continue to use that as an excuse when you fuck up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Go back to it, compound
it. Of course. And then use it as an excuse rather than be like, nah, I'm responsible for, you know what I mean? My own shit.
So these 2 albums are fresh products off of that change.
Absolutely.
That life change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you sense a different, even though you're staying true to the Jedi sound that you've established and maintained, do you sense a difference? And I know you never listen, but I'm sure you listen at some point when you're editing. And
sure.
But do you sense a difference at all?
I just feel like I'm better, man.
Just this, like when you hear the product itself.
I hear it, I'm like, I'm better. I'm better than I was before.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I don't talk like that. That's not in my character, to be like, to big myself up. You know what I mean? But I know from someone who's been rhyming as long as I have been, if someone wants to decide that records from before are better, that's cool. But I know from my craft, this is the best I ever been. You know what I'm saying? I can't dictate how someone feels about that. You know what I mean? It's like, but I know that this is the best I've ever been. You know what I mean?
Without it, you could just feel it. Yeah.
Of course.
What about the video itself? And what's your favorite thing about shooting videos?
Nothing.
No. It's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I hate it.
You have to go somewhere that you probably normally don't go, and you're being told to do this and reshoot something 15 times.
I mean, I have people in my life who make it easy on me, and I hate it. So I can't imagine what it would be like.
Well, I mean, the Blood on My Hands video is dope as fuck, man.
Those guys made it dope, man. I just rapped. You know what I mean? But like,
you just showed up.
But historically, it's like, I remember like Heavy Metal Kings. It was like 4,000 degrees in Brooklyn. I was hungover. I didn't sleep. I was like out in Manhattan drinking till 3 or 4, and then I think like the shoot started at 6 a.m. and it was 7,000 degrees. You know, you're talking about a nightmare, man.
Right.
It's like there's these.
Was that the worst video experience you ever had?
Let me think.
I'm sure there was others that will pop to mind. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Just the formula and the variable of Vinny in video plus video shoot equals chaos,
It's
right?
just bad, man. It's just bad. I love the video though.
When it comes out, you look back
Bro,
and it's like,
that's amazing.
Right.
That's like the greatest feeling. There is payoff. It's like anything artistic that's draining. When there's payoff, there's something rewarding about that. You know what I mean? So there's no regrets when it comes to that. You know what I mean? But it's like everything is sort of based on personality traits, man. Like people want to be in front of the camera. People want to be in every shot. People want to. They live for that. No, let's shoot 10 videos. I'm like the antithesis of that. It's hard. It's sort of hard doing what I do because I've never been like a shameless self-promoter. I'm not like the rapper used car salesman on Twitter and you know what I'm saying? And just selling everything is for sale. I'll sell you verses. I'll sell you this. You know, it's just not who I am. So inherently, that shit is just awkward for me. You know what I mean? It's like it's an uncomfortable part of the business and
necessary evil.
It's
though?
a necessary, especially now, man. Right. It's like there's all of these things that might go against who you are. That you're like, well, I'm either going to embrace it. It's like adapt or die. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
And like to complain about any of this in reality when people live in mud huts somewhere is sort of ridiculous. So to complain about shooting a video, you know what I mean, that goes on and gets millions of views and known around the world, it's like, realistically, it's like, I don't want to come off like that. I can bitch about it because it's just not who I am. It's like,
but anybody who knows and is familiar with you and is watching this knows that you define humility.
I hope so, but it's like
you're allowed to vent for a minute.
That doesn't make it less of a nightmare for it to be 110 in Brooklyn at 6 a.m. You know,
hungover.
It's just not. It's not sweet. You know what I mean? But like, that had to be the worst video, man.
Okay.
That I'm thinking about.
That sounds like it might be.
Yeah, well, you know what the other thing is, man? I'll tell you what the thing is like, when something's over, there's a beauty in being like, yo, I'm in Philly and I'm going home. It's like 12-hour shoot and 5,000 degrees and then like the 2-hour drive from Brooklyn.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
2 hours.
Yeah,
you must have not hit any traffic.
Right, yeah, because we left, we probably left mad late at night. You know what I mean? Hit the turnpike.
So you can fly at that point.
Yeah, but it's like certain shit is just a nightmare depending on your personality. It's like, I'm a talker, I'm the loud motherfucker amongst my friends. Mm-hmm. You know, but that doesn't always translate into being that way. Like, yo, I always want to be in front of the camera. I want to go on. I don't want to do interviews with people. You know, like whether it's blogs or websites and all of that shit. I just don't.
Or me or anybody. You don't want to talk to anybody.
No, it's like when you're amongst people, you know, it's a whole different ball game. You know what I mean? It's like when you've been doing it as long as me, and it's like the same questions over and over and over again. It's like, at what point is like, yo, how and when did Jedi get started? I'm like, yo, man, can you just like go look that up? Right. I'm not assuming I'm famous and everyone knows it, but it's easily accessible at this point. You know what I mean? Like, talk to me about something interesting, or I don't want to do it. And that's basically like, who's out there doing something interesting? You know what I mean? Like we spoke before camera about like, you know, a dude like Joe Rogan, like who does an incredible job, and like we were talking how great the idea of Drink Champs is by Nori. Like,
absolutely,
the idea is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like things like that. You get, oh, yo, maybe I'll be all right with that. That sounds cool. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a good idea.
But you still need substance.
Of course,
like,
man.
I can get here and ask you 50 different questions, but it's about not just your answers, but the substance in your answers. And you know, you're talking about a personal life change that you made a couple minutes ago.
Sure.
That's what's going to bring people to the show. Now we can throw you know, we could smoke, we could drink, we could,
of course,
you know, walk around with our shirts off, whatever it might be, right?
Right.
People will watch, but they stay for the substance.
Well, no, like, you know, my business partner was like, yo, we can ask kids to send in questions. And it's like, well, someone's asking me, like, when I'm coming back to Oklahoma. Like, yo, man, is that what you want me to spend time talking about? Because, you know what I'm saying? I guess I'll answer that. I don't think I'm coming back to Oklahoma.
Not anytime soon. Norman's not getting a visit.
If that helps,
Right.
I'm not coming back. But no, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like if I had the opportunity to ask someone that I was interested in a question, it probably wouldn't be, when are you coming to Philly?
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's just me.
Right. I get you.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like that stuff. It just gets redundant, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and if you tell someone that the process is redundant, they think they're different, and then it's like whatever country I'm in, whatever city, it's like, bro, I could just be zoning, staring at the wall and answer these questions at this point. I'm like, yo, why are any of us doing this?
Right.
I'd rather use this 40 minutes to just sit back here and stare at the wall. You know what I mean?
As opposed to,
and decompress, because this is just like, it's just nonsense at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially and all of that simple line of questioning is deaded by social media.
Right, because anybody who's curious about it just tweets.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like anything that simple, like, when are you touring? When are you dropping a new record? I don't know, just look at the thing, man. It'll be there, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
I saw you put the tweet out earlier today when we shot, the day that we're shooting, about just how difficult it is to get everywhere. Because like you're saying, people are, I'm sure, hitting you up on Twitter, any means that they can get at you. It's not just Oklahoma. It's 49 other states. It's different parts. We'll get to the tours that you have coming up in a minute, but it's got to just, because we get older. Yes. And there's a toll on us, but I think that what happens, and I'm speaking as a fan, I think what happens is I see a new Vinnie Paz record, I see a new Jedi Mind record come out, and I don't put together the fact that you're getting a little older. Yeah. Because we all age. Yeah. And I can't expect you to hit 500 cities in a tour like it's 1998.
Right. There's just the thing that's frustrating there. It shouldn't be frustrating because these are people who aren't in the business. But it's like, when you come in here, when you come in there, they don't understand. Like, there's a very simple answer to that, and that's just tour routing. If you ask me, like, when I'm coming to Nebraska and I'm nowhere near Nebraska, that doesn't make sense, okay? Right. But then let's just say I am. It's like, these things, you have to understand, there's promoters involved, there's booking agents, there's my willingness, I know at this point in my career what I'm worth. I know I don't have to take shitty shows. I don't have to, that grind is something you do when you're a kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or if you're not a kid or you're an up-and-coming artist, it's not really as much age as it is how new you are, you know what I mean? But I was just mega young, you know what I mean? And it's like, we had that, we felt those first few tours, the obligation to, like, go everywhere. And you do go everywhere, and you realize, like, what city gravitates towards what type of sound, and all of those things, you know what I'm saying? Yep. And it's like, it's, for whatever reason, it's hard for these kids to wrap their heads around why you don't come there. Well, it's just all, it's all actually very simple. It's, you know what I mean? It's sort of overcomplicating a very, why aren't you coming there? Because I'm 2,000 miles away. That's the closest other show. Yeah. If I'm not coming there, there's two options. That means I'm coming there on a different run because it's a different part of the country at another time, or I think you live in the worst place ever and I don't want to come back. You know what I'm saying? Right. And the money there.
Fill in the blank.
And there's not money there, and I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
so that's how you plot this tour that's coming up in the U.S.
I mean, like, my booking agent and partner is just like, at this point, it's a nightmare dealing with me because I don't want to.
At this point?
No, it always was. But, like, it's just kind of like, you know, you get to the point where it's just so taxing on you, man, like, emotionally, you know what I mean? Like, the easiest thing to talk about is physically because you're obviously eating like shit, getting no sleep, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, I can cope with that. To me, it's like the emotional draining how emotionally draining it is.
Well, I don't know. I don't know you well, but from what I know from you, I imagine repetition bothers you.
Yeah.
Like the same routine as opposed to like being able to maybe me different. It's one thing to go to a different city and experience a different fan base.
Yeah.
But as far as the routine of that, as opposed to being able to be a little bit more free.
Well, what happens is, one thing that happens is when people ask you like, yo, how is Paris? How is Amsterdam? I'm like, I don't see anything.
Yeah, you're working.
It's like you get to the hotel at check-in, which like around the world is like anywhere from 1 to 3. And you try to crash until like dinner, and then you grub, and then you're at sound check, and then you play, and then you're out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Unless you have days off, which are rare. You know what I mean? There's like there's cities I've been to that are beautiful cities that I'm like, nah, I drove by it. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been going to Paris for forever, and I just saw the Eiffel Tower last year for the first time. You know what I mean? Never even visually. I think one time I was asleep and like, there it is. I was like, nah, I'm
fuck
good.
it, I'm not getting up.
Yeah, like I remember.
So you actually had time to stop? What changed in your life that you had time to see the Eiffel Tower?
We didn't have time. My tour manager over there was like, do y'all want to see it? Because you know what it was? The drive to the next show wasn't mad long. So
okay.
I don't want to say we had off, but we had like time to, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So we just took a quick pic just to, I've been here 8 million times and I never saw it. But like, I think like one of the only times I woke up was to do the European vacation. Look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament.
Back to sleep.
Yeah, I went back to sleep because you're trying to sleep in the tour van, and it's a shit show, man. The whole shit, and again, but
do y'all eat well at least?
Nah.
Is it just like because you're on the run?
Yeah, because it's like it's not even by like, fuck it, we're on the road, we'll just eat like shit. It's like your options are so fucking limited. It's a little bit easier in the States, but when you're over there, it's like, because the way Europe is, it's like each country is a state in the U.S.
Yeah.
Their countries are as big as our states. So it's like you're shifting, every day you're shifting languages, you're shifting cultural, how things work culturally. You're shifting styles of food. It's like I don't eat pork. You go into a country and that's all they're offering you. You're like, fuck, man, I'm eating like some weird style of chip that I'd never heard before.
Right.
Like a fucking ketchup chips or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what you're eating because you don't want to. You know what I mean? If you want to avoid McDonald's and shit every day, it just fucks with you, man. It just
tough,
fucks
man.
with you. I think but I do think as much as you brought up the age thing, and like as you get older, I do think there are people that still love it. It's just how you're wired. Because if you look at dudes like Metallica and the Stones, you know what I mean, McCartney, it's like especially the Stones and McCartney, them dudes are in their 70s.
Yeah, right.
So there's something there that they
well, look at Jay and Beyonce.
Yeah, and we know none of these people we talk about is it about money.
Right, exactly right.
So what are you motivated by? They must love that shit.
Are we? How far away are we from from where you don't even need to like truly tour because of social media? I mean, we're probably not far away from you doing like a VR video.
I'm not sure. I really don't have the answer for that. If I believed that we were there, I'd be doing it.
You'd stop doing it?
I'd be like, yo, let's do it now with this green screen.
Right.
Let me do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me do it now. Let me do a live show from in here.
You have 3 records to push on these 2 tours, right?
Right, man.
So you gotta get out there and sell, brother.
Right. But I don't know. And you're also talking about a group of kids. Again, it's culturally. It's not just hip hop. It's like a youth culture where if there's 1,000 kids, 900 of them are watching through their cell phone.
Yeah.
At the show.
Do you find that bizarre?
I can't articulate how bizarre I find it. The illest thing was when the Misfits did the Prudential, they made everyone put their cell phones in this little thing that locks them.
I love it. Smart.
It was brilliant.
It's got to be, like, there's probably nothing that would distract you on stage. You probably have seen...
I've seen everything.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not like that would throw you off.
No, it's just...
But it's just like...
It's disheartening almost.
Yeah.
It's disheartening almost.
Like, why wouldn't you paid to watch me, why wouldn't you watch me? And you could watch that video anyway. Like, I could cheat and hold the phone up and still watch you and then know I have that video at home to watch forever.
You know what gets at me, though? what really is that video? Are you gonna watch
Grainy shit that you see
Are
posted
they
on
really
Twitter.
watching that at home?
Probably not.
Like, are you, you know what I'm saying? Like, what psychologically, what's there? What is the science behind that? Is it to say I was here? Is it what really, other than, if you want to get a pic or a 30-second thing, I mean, I'm talking sustained 70 minutes of it or half of that or whatever. It's so crazy to me. And if that is the reality, then why can't I just record it here and do a show
Just push
here?
it out right there.
Why?
See?
If that's how you're going to consume live music in 2018, then why do I have to come there?
Well, think about it. You see it already now, these watch parties that are shot on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you could do that, essentially.
Yeah.
You could have an Instagram watch party
Of course.
for your album to come out.
Yeah.
And you could have a bunch of people here, green screen, whatever.
Yep.
People just load up on the Instagram channel, and you don't have to leave.
Yeah.
The music is being played. You have a couple of people. You could do whatever you want, all the entertainment you want here. And what's crazy is that this is where we're at right now, is that people won't complain. 10, 15 years ago, if you had that concept or you did it on TV, people are like, man, get your ass out there and tour. Now it's almost just like, wow, that's innovative. You're doing something different.
Of course. And it's like that line between innovation and you're a fuckhead is, it's so blurred, that line. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, again, I think what gets me the most is if you're going to watch this through the eyes of a phone, then why am I here?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or through the eyes of, whatever you're doing. It just seems so bizarre to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's bizarre to like take a 15-second video or a bunch of pictures. I don't think that's bizarre. But when you're experiencing it through a camera the whole time, it's like,
it's a younger thing though, right?
Of course.
You see that with, the older teenagers and young 20s.
Of course. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes I forget how old people are, and I'm like, oh, they're just young. And I'm like, well, that motherfucker's 30, recording this whole shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, is that playing a part in? I'm not sure that you could ever I'm not sure you could ever replicate the live experience. I think merchandise and the live experience are something that culturally can't be killed. It's like we've killed, it's like video killed a radio star, and then we, MP3s and sharing sites killed, vinyl and tape and CD, and then you have streaming sites killing the MP3 and digital music because it's a different stream. You can't on your phone create a T-shirt
right
out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? You can't. The best you can come to a live show other than being there is like watching it on YouTube. And if that's what you do, cool. But you can't replicate a live experience either. So they're really the last two things. And that's where your hands become tied. If you're like me with touring. If you love it, I would just be out 250 days a year because I can. That's that's offered to me.
Sure.
To be out there.
But that's a toll. And
yo, man,
anybody.
You have to start thinking about certain shit. Like, is my sanity worth this? Is my money is money? Why? What if I get all this money, but I have a nervous breakdown in the process? Then what does having a ton of money? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like kids in whether it's like Japan or South Africa or Australia, like when are you coming back? Blah blah blah. Yo, that flight to Australia, bro. Like,
I can't imagine.
Was
I've
a
never been.
fucking soul eraser.
Is it nonstop? You guys stop anywhere?
Well, we went to Cali to chill for a few days, but from Cali it was nonstop. It was like, it's like 5 hours Philly to Cali, but that's fine. We chilled.
Yeah, you can do that.
I can do that. At this point, I can like anything up to 10 is nothing to me.
10 seems like a ton.
No, it's a nightmare, but I'm just adjusted. Where I know it's a nightmare, but I have like rituals to get through around that length of time. And then past that, it's a bloodbath. And it was like, like 17 hours, bro. And I slept through half of it and woke up like mad happy.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're halfway through the trip. I was like, yo, man. What the
jump out the plane at that point.
fuck is happening? And on the way home, we were as far west as you could be in Australia. So we had to travel mad hours in Australia before coming. From when I left Australia to when I touched down in Philly, it was like 36 hours.
Oh my God.
Of travel.
Like,
I hit LAX and felt like I was home.
Right.
The NFL was on. It was December. I was like dancing like I was home. And I still wasn't close. But in my head, that was better than 27 hours or something. You know what I mean? So it's like, none of that shit is like, that's not appetizing, man.
no.
You know what I mean?
So no Japan tour, no Sydney, Australia tour.
I mean,
no Philippines.
it was beautiful. It was, all the shows were sold out in Australia.
Yeah.
It was great. And then it's like, there's always to go from there to New Zealand and, you know what I mean? There to Tasmania or wherever. It's like, these opportunities are beautiful, but it's like, can you even appreciate beauty when you're fried? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's the same thing as like when you go somewhere, you said in Europe, Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, man.
Can't appreciate anything because you're constantly working.
And when someone's telling you like, yo, you're here, we're at this place. Yo, there was times where we were physically at the place of something and I didn't get out of the van. Like physically as far as me to you. I was like, no.
That's all you got to do. Like your van, just open your eyes.
We were in Seattle.
One eye.
We were in Seattle at Hendrix's grave, and I love Hendrix. We were in the cemetery, and I was like, oh. You know what I mean? Like that shit. If that doesn't tell you how draining it can be, you know what I'm saying? And then again, the flip side of that is like you have to be appreciative. You know what I'm saying? Like of all of these opportunities, because I could be working at Walmart or something.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like I never had to have a real job like that. So it's like, that's incredible. But the flip side of that is like you have to, if you're fried mentally, man, none of it matters. What is any of that? If you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor, then what does it matter?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can't say that enough, especially to myself. Like, yo, I could take this and get this amount of money all year. You know what I'm saying? But luckily I'm good where I don't have to take it, but it's still more money. And then it's like, well, when is enough is enough? How much is enough money? All those questions start coming in, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
have to balance it.
And like, you look at your parents and say, damn, they had to struggle. Like, imagine them saying no to do an hour show, to do what they love and saying no to it. So there's like guilt attached to that we were broke. And you know what I'm saying? Is it a slap in the face to my father who passed away and my mom who worked so hard? Like, is it a slap in the face to turn to? So that struggle comes in.
But I'm sure that switch goes on as soon as you hit the stage.
Oh, yeah. No, that shit's great, bro.
It's just autopilot.
No,
right?
that shit's amazing. Like, I will never, ever, no matter whatever age I'm at, talk about that aspect of it. Meeting kids and performing, like, I hope I didn't come off that way.
No, not at all.
You know what
not
I'm
at
saying?
all.
So what I'm complaining about and what's draining is flights.
Sure.
No sleep. You know what I'm saying?
But
like,
it factors in. It's good that you explain that because it factors into why somebody who might be in San Jose to Saudi Arabia asking on Twitter, hey, Vin, how come you don't come back?
Yeah.
Now you explain that it's not, hey, I didn't like you. I didn't like that crowd or, somebody stifling on the promotion. It's shit, that's a 15-hour flight, bro.
Yeah, man. It's like, I understand that if this isn't what you do, that even still seems like, yo, but that would be incredible. I'm like, yo, a close friend of mine a few years back, 2015, came for like 4 shows on the West Coast for vacation. Did nothing but chill and bust balls. And by like the second day, he was dead. And was like, yo, I'm not doing anything and I'm dead.
Right.
And he wasn't even himself. This is like the biggest ball breaker of our crew. The loudest mouth goes to everyone's neck, constant ball breaking. By like the second day in, everyone's like, yo, you're not even being yourself. You're acting like a bitch.
He's just tired.
And he was just like wiped out, just from little shit, just that little Philly to, wherever he flew in on the West Coast, I can't remember, and just being in the tour van. Like, again, I repeat, he did nothing.
Nope.
He wasn't working merch. He wasn't tour managing. He was eating food and drinking alcohol. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, this is after a couple of days. And I'm like, yo, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, my man Holy Wars, he's from Saudi. He's come on 2 tours with me just to chill in Europe. And he's like, yo, man, I don't know how you do it because I'm wiped out and I'm not performing. You know what I'm saying?
And you're just like, hey, this is the life.
It is what it is.
Yeah, you're used to it.
It's like, that's what, again, man, I feel like based on my personality, I was just born at the wrong time because you could not tour. You know what I'm saying? Like once the Beatles albums got complicated, they were like, yo, we can't do this shit live, so we're just gonna stop.
Right.
But they were selling so many records and records were selling and there were so many, the revenue stream just through records was there. You know what I'm saying? Like if people didn't steal my shit, I could just live off that. You know what I mean? But it's like, you have to do creative things. If let's say I don't want to tour anymore, then it's like, well, all right, I got to do creative shit then to create,
Sure.
to make up for that stream of revenue.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And also keep relevance.
Of course. And how do you do that? And like you said with that IG story, it's like people are constantly reinventing the wheel and coming up with different ways of doing things and doing, like I said, inventive things. But you still, again, you can't replicate live and you can't replicate merchandise.
Is that why you still go to Europe? Because of that?
Well, it's just, yo, they care so much about hip hop there, man. You know what I mean? And the preservation of the culture that's gone here.
Do you remember the first time you toured in Europe?
I remember the first show, we were in Switzerland, in Zurich, was the first show I ever did, and I was backstage. And it was a huge venue, and I was shook. I'm like, yo, there's gonna be like 10 people here. Yo, it's the worst ever, man. Like I never, like it's terrible. Like pacing and shit. And my man Des is like, you might want to look out there. And I looked behind the curtain, and it was just a sea of people. And that first, there's video footage of it. That first time my feet physically touched the stage in Europe was one of the craziest fucking feelings ever, man. Like, it gives me chills. You know
I can see it right now.
Yeah, man, it was deep, man. That was some heavy shit. Because it doesn't matter how many letters or emails you get from people over there. Until you experience something, it's never real. You know what I'm saying? It's like, at least for me, like I've always been someone like, I need to touch something for me to believe that it's real, you know what I mean? Or else it's an abstract idea.
Right. It needs to be tangible.
Yeah, like I don't care how many people I heard from. I believed it. I saw the numbers. I saw that we sold records there. I saw this and that. But until you go out there and there's like 1,000 Swiss kids singing every word, it's like, yo, man, you can't, like that's something, you basically, that's like a high. You're chasing the dragon from that, you know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely,
that's what allows you to stay on the tours, because that part of it is so rewarding, you know what I mean? Because the other part is not, you know what I'm saying?
It makes up for it, right?
Right,
So
right.
those
so it's
2 hours.
Yeah, so it's like that part gets you through that shitty day and then repeat. And then that part gets you through, you know what I'm saying? It's like not being able to smoke a blunt all day and then you smoke your blunt.
You use that analogy specifically for me, right?
Well, look.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, it's like the dude who works all day to have.
You can go back to the blunt, it's fine.
Well, no, it has that drink,
Right.
that drink while he's watching the game at night. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then that's on some level prepares them for the next fucking work day that they want to blow their brains out.
Yeah.
It's like whatever it takes you to get you through the day. You know what I mean? But it's just. There's nothing to do. There's nothing you can do, whether it's health, like if you go to a gym in every hotel, if you eat, there's nothing that makes it easier, man. You know what I'm saying?
It's just the wear on you. Let me ask you this. It's not how surprised, but just every time you do an album, and as we all get older in this creative entertainment field that we work in, we reinvent ourselves with new projects, but you still attract younger, in your case, listeners, younger fans.
Yeah.
And it's not about appreciation, because we appreciate anybody. It doesn't matter if somebody's 12 years old or 80 years old buying your music. But as you get older and continue to make solid, hot, fire music that you come out and not only in studio but tour with, just seeing younger kids has to bring a smile on your face, because it's tough. It's tough to attract younger hip-hop fans in 2018. And you're able to do it.
That might be the most rewarding shit, man. Because let's say we went to see Tribe and De La, right? It would be sold out, but everyone would be our age.
Absolutely.
But it would be sold out.
We'd be young.
Yeah. Now those guys shaped my life. and they still make incredible music. So that wasn't a shot.
Sure.
I'm just saying some people grow with groups and age with groups, and then for me it's like there was I think it was in Stockholm, Sweden. It was for whatever reason it was 18 plus. I always try to do all ages for a reason because I want kids to be able to come, but I can't always control the venue.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Same when it's 21 and over, I'm even more heartbroken because there's so many young kids.
And that 18 to 20 is meat for you.
Huge.
Yeah. Probably like 16 to 20.
Huge, man.
Yeah.
But there was a kid who was like 12 who came, and I like let him come in and see sound check and signed everything for him and shit. And he was a kid, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's a lot of young kids every show. A lot. There's nobody, you know what I mean? There's not many old heads. And like, the coolest thing is when I see dudes our age with like their 8, 9, 10-year-old kid there, you know what I'm saying?
Raising them right.
Yeah. But no, the ability to regenerate fans is like, I don't know how much I've done well in my life, but for whatever reason, we've been able to do that. I'm proud of that.
Is it just you?
I don't know.
You're not doing anything specific. You're
Not that I
sitting,
know of.
Yeah, you're not sitting in a room with 4 or 5 other people like, how can we reach
I
the
wish I was,
16 to 20
I
demo?
wish I was that smart. I wish, if I was smart enough to do that, I'd be smart enough to get my ass off the road.
Fair point.
But
Fair point.
there's something there. Like, some kid wrote me today or yesterday, when are you coming to Oslo? I was like, sir, I'm always in Oslo. And he's like, I might not even been thought of when the first time you came here. And I like looked at his shit and he was like 15. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh shit.
Wow.
Yo, it was ignorant of me to just assume like, yo, I'm always there. And it's like 15, I was into some shit at 15. I was into some shit at a real young age, but that was through the grace of God of having brothers who were much older. Not older, much older.
Yeah.
I was 5 and 6 and they were 17 and 18. So I heard sucker MCs when I was 6 years old. People start finding themselves in high school. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
what am I into? I was this one year, my freshman year, I was a skateboarder. My 10th grade year, I was a Guido. My 11th grade year, I was a, you know what I mean? I was it's like, I was wrapped up in subculture from such a young age that it's hard for me to wrap my head around. I was listening to a podcast, right? And the guy asked him, when did you get into punk rock? And he was like, yeah, probably when I heard like Green Day and Offspring. And I was like, yo, how is that an answer? But then I realized, no, don't be pretentious. Not everyone had what you had. Not everyone was as lucky as me to have brothers who were wrapped up in subculture, you know what I'm saying, at 6 years old. Some people have no siblings and have to find their way through various channels of like, you know what I'm saying? And
but you don't have blinders. Last time we talked on camera, you were going off about tons of music that you were listening to, influenced by, that's completely removed from hip hop.
Yeah, of course.
So while you're growing up and immersed in that, and that's your base, it's not like you have blinders on.
Well, the only blinders I had were I was so wrapped up in subculture, whether it was hip hop, punk, you know what I mean? I was just attracted to counterculture from the rip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those things connected. When you talk about New York in 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, you have Fab Five Freddy hanging out with The Clash and Blondie and the Beasties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you had this, people don't know, young kids don't know that. The punk and hip hop. Punk and hip hop came up together. They were born at the same time. Right. You know what I mean?
Outcast, if you will.
Of
Not
course.
the group, but I'm saying they were outcast in New York.
And that counterculture shit created everything that's happening today. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everything that exists today is basically based off shit that happened in London and New York from that period of time. You know what I mean? And everything sort of grew from that. And I was just attracted to that shit. You know what I mean? And then like, when my parents listened to like soul music, you know what I mean? So that was around, and like the Beatles and stuff like that. But I was just so caught up in counterculture that I would meet people who were like, just, yo, what do you listen to? The radio. Yeah. I was like, yo, this is 28 years ago that question baffled me. That answer baffled me.
Yeah, that they
in
were
88, 89, 90, that baffled me then. Like, huh? Do you know how most like there's life-changing shit out there, man? This is like the extent of your reach is what, you know, a corporation is dictating is popular music. You know what I mean?
We had Future Flavors back in the day.
Of course,
and we had to roll our tape on that shit just to get stuff that wasn't going to be played
like
6 or 7
Future
times.
Stretch and Bobito, like all that stuff. It was like, again, counterculture. You had to care. You had to stay up,
right,
and tape it. You had to, and those are rites of passage, man. That again, it's like the accessibility of Spotify, the accessibility of SoundCloud, of YouTube. It's like, yo, it was a Thursday night where I'd have to be out of school the next day, but like be up from 10 to 1 to tape everything, so I had all the new joints.
You know, it's crazy,
you know
man.
What I'm saying?
I never thought of it that way. Just about, because it's one thing to be in a small group of an MC like yourself, and to have a rite of passage into being at that echelon, but listeners and consumers, fans. Yeah, and I think that there's something different about it. Doesn't mean that they're less, a 16-year-old kid's less of a fan, but I know exactly what you're saying, to have the double-deck box back in the day, and one would stop on a double side, you roll over to the other, just so you would get these shows
And
taped.
when your man would come over and be like, listen to this, that's dead now. You can just text him, go on Spotify and type in ba-ba-ba.
Yeah, wasn't there a sense of pride that you'd be the first to put somebody onto something?
Of course, and that's like, again, I don't want this to spiral into us being pretentious.
No, I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna every young kid's rolling their eyes right now saying, oh, they're just old. First off, we ain't really that old, first of all. You know what I mean? That's a fact in the grand scheme of things. You got Ice-T like 62 years old.
Exactly right.
You know what I'm saying? But like, the reality is that wasn't that many years ago, man. You know what I'm saying? People can joke around and be like, we old, blah, blah, blah. The reality, you know what I mean? Jay, 47 years old and still at the top of his game. G-Rap, the same, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, but like, there was honor in that. There was like, yo, I could only afford one tape. You could only afford one tape. You get this, I'll get this. We'll dub it. You know what I mean? We'll make our own mixtapes. We'll talk, you know what I mean? Mail order. Ordering records this way. There's a rite of passage in being that type of fan. Whereas when a kid writes me a week after a new record, when you're putting out a new record, now that's insulting.
Right.
Forget the rite of passage shit. They can't control their age. They can't. They
Right.
can't control when their parents fucked and had the kid. They can control knowing that that's out of pocket.
Yeah, you can't do that shit.
You know what I'm saying? Tribe and De La, all in native tongue, it was 3 years between each record. You know what I'm saying? It was 88, 91, 94.
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, we're in 2018. You said 3 years for the Jedi album.
Yeah, but...
That's time is not a bad thing to put into something.
No, and I'm trying to balance that too with being like, if you go away now in this culture, do you get forgotten about? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or is it good? You know, the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm currently reading it, but with the Van Halen book, like their manager was like, no, a break, it will be good. That you're creating, you know what I'm saying? You're creating that need again.
Well, can you build off of anticipation, like an anticipatory
That's the
buzz?
word I was looking for. Anticipation.
When are they coming back? When is Vinny coming back?
Right. So I'm
do a whole ad campaign.
I'm torn with that though. Can I just disappear for 2 years, or is that career suicide?
Do you have that in you? To not write, to not do that?
No,
for
not
2
to
years?
not make music, no.
Yeah.
No, I have to make music. But if my business partner told me you're not touring until 2020, I fucking do the Running Man up and down my block.
That would definitely get on tape.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. If he tells me, I'll do it right now.
Let me ask you this, because I love, not only are you just so aware of what's happening and you know, deep, if you want to call it conspiracy theories, or just being awake about things happening in our society, but you're so well versed in my world too, in sports. I don't know how you keep up with it, because especially when you're on tour, like you're about to go on tour, and there's a huge boxing match that I know you're going to watch at some point. I don't even know if you guys are going to be on tour at that point in the middle of December, the Canelo Triple G fight. The Eagles are about to start defending their Super Bowl championship. You know, I know you got both eyes on the Sixers. How do you fucking do all this?
2 years in a row, I made the tour revolve around Triple G Canelo.
Is that right?
If that should tell you how sick I am in the head.
That's your favorite sport by a mile.
Oh, but I mean,
So
leaps and bounds.
Let me ask you this, because you know I love sports, and
Of course.
it's not about not being passionate about boxing, but I feel like there's such a double-edged sword with it, where the last fight, for example, the one judge who was so far on, it was a Canelo side.
Yeah, she had it 118, 110 for Canelo.
You get rewarded with a fight. You get rewarded with the bloodless. You get rewarded with good technical boxers, especially in the lower weight classes.
Yeah, super high level stuff.
But there's always a sense of corruption or a sense of doubt or this cloud that hangs over that sport.
Well, it's why it's become a niche sport, whereas when we were kids, it was on ABC Wide World of Sports on Saturday. It was once the sport of kings.
Yeah.
With the heavyweight champion. If we walk down the street right now and ask somebody who the heavyweight champion is, a good portion would say Mike Tyson. And the rest would have no idea who the heavyweight champion was right now. And the heavyweight champion used to be the representative of the biggest star in the country, in the world maybe.
Absolutely.
Ali definitely was. Tyson definitely was. Joe Louis, Marciano, they definitely were. That's the cream of the crop as far as sports. But bad decisions and corrupt sanctioning bodies have turned it back into a niche sport. You know what I mean? And a lot of people have walked away from it because of what you just said. Like, yo, I love it, but I can't take this shit anymore.
You're not at that point. I can't see you being...
I just love it too much, man. I just love it too much. It's too much a part of who I am. You know what I mean? But like, I get it. It's very difficult for me to argue.
No, I wasn't even trying to come down on the sport.
But I wouldn't argue with you.
Yeah, it's tough.
There's not really, when you're watching shoddy decisions, it's difficult. And it is a niche sport at this point. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's like, that's another huge thing, man. Like, I just want to watch a whole fucking season without missing games. You know what I'm saying? I want to watch a whole Bird season without missing games. I want to watch a whole Sixer season without I haven't in over a decade and a half.
Because of
legitimately. That is not on any level an exaggeration.
Yeah.
There has not been one calendar year where I haven't missed a massive fight. I won't miss it. I'll watch it on a fucking grainy computer if I have to. A massive fight, but you're talking about time difference too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So it could be 2 a.m.
So shit's on, the fight comes on at 11:30, the main event. It's 5:30 a.m. where I'm at, and I got to get up at 8 to get an event.
Yep.
But it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have Sixers tickets. It's like a season ticket. You know what I'm saying? I end up going to like 2 of them. You know what I mean? For what vary, either I'm not there or I'm wiped out from not being there.
Or the team's tanking.
I still went though.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Look at you, die hard, going down there when they're winning 10 games.
I still went.
Is that right?
Yes.
See, nobody can ever question his heart.
No, not with the Sixers. The reason why I haven't turned on the sport is with bad decisions, the boxing community still treats you as the winner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, which is different than other sports.
Correct. Like, at one point, because the belts and the sanctioning bodies are so corrupt now, right? At one point, Marco Antonio Barrera was the best lightweight in the world and had no belts. Because he was like, fuck it, I'm not paying sanctioning bodies. I don't care about anything. The only belt that matters, Ring Magazine, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
They have a belt, they've had it for 100 years. That's the only belt that matters. So anyone who cares about boxing, just look at who the Ring Magazine champ is. And Barrera had no belts but the Ring Magazine champ. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, that's the really only belt, because they've never had bias. You know what I mean? They're not connected monetarily to these sanctioning bodies where you pay someone money and all of a sudden you're the number one contender. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds like record sales.
Yeah, man. It's how people were cooking the books and payola.
Yeah, man.
And all of that shit. Like, yo, we'll give you $200,000 to, again, I hate, this is the third time I bring it up. They talk about payola in the Van Halen book. Like, third record wasn't doing as well. All of a sudden they came up with $250,000. All of a sudden the record's number 12 or something. You know what I'm saying?
And you got to be careful with that shit.
Of course,
The money
that shit's
trails
illegal, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That shit's illegal. That's a crime.
I deal with it too, where somebody comes in and they want to push a product, and you have to walk that fine line of accepting something, just taking a bottle of liquor or a book or something like that.
Of course. Yeah,
that's a tough line.
I feel that way too. If someone gives me something, but they're in the game, I'm like, does this motherfucker feel like I owe them now? Like, on any level, like, I don't want the email, like, can you be on the song? Like, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I try to just avoid all of that. I don't want nothing from nobody. Yeah. Man. I built my own shit.
Did you ever see Tyson live?
Yeah, I saw Tyson. Tyson,
I'm already
Tyrell
jealous.
Biggs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Didn't matter who he fought. I was
Yeah,
like, already
Tyrell
gonna be
Biggs.
jealous.
And Tyrell Biggs is from Philly and undefeated.
Where was that fight?
At Trump,
Okay.
whatever his thing was.
Taj?
What was the Trump John called?
I thought maybe it was the Taj. Who knows? We'll find out in editing.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever he had that the John and AC.
Yeah, I thought it was the Taj, but
Yeah.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
See, he's one of the few athletes that it's beyond the bucket list. It's the experience of it. Like if you've seen Jordan, right? If you've seen Gretzky, there's just this aura that you can't explain.
There's still an aura of invincibility to him after all those terrible losses.
Yep.
It's like he was the first athlete to represent our era. Coming out to Public Enemy, coming out to Redman.
Yeah,
that was the first
time for some action.
Yeah,
shit.
man. And before that, he came out to Welcome to the Terror Dome, which is like the hardest thing ever.
Right.
So Mike was like the first athlete, and he was the most popular athlete in the world to embrace hip-hop culture. You know what I'm saying? And you're talking about the boom, 85, 86, 87, 88. This motherfucker had Dapper Dan shit and Dookie ropes. It's like, you know what I mean? It was like hanging out with rappers, hanging out with LL. It was like the first, you know, I look at Jordan as someone who was part of hip hop culture, but Mike hated and hates hip hop, but his effect on the culture is undeniable. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because they were the same. They were a year apart. Mike was 84, and then Tyson, you know, turned pro in 85. So it's like you had Tyson and Jordan in their primes when we were coming of age. You know what I mean? And even though Mike sort of distanced himself from hip hop culture, there's nothing he could say to fully distance himself because of the kicks of basketball being so huge with hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like they were the first two hip hop athletes. You know what I mean? Even though Jordan didn't want any part of that.
No, but you're right. Tyson, I don't know if you can find anybody. It might be tough now just because, as you mentioned earlier, how the genre has splintered off into different types of subgenres, even like there's sub to subs. But I don't know if you would find an athlete that would represent a culture better than Tyson and hip hop culture.
Yeah, I mean, you had a kid.
And I'm talking about like rock, metal.
I agree.
Nirvana.
I agree. The only other dude that I'm fully aware was super wrapped up in counterculture was Piazza. Was like a huge metal dude, and
never knew that.
And made a big deal out of it. Like would hang out. Like every huge Slayer show, everything, Piazza was there.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Damn,
man. Like super wrapped up. But Mike was like. Mike represented the whole shit. It was really time and place and lightning strike. I mean, you had like a dude from Brownsville who was a goon, who was knocking people out. The music was aggressive.
Right.
He was a goon. Yep. You know what I mean?
Everything
he talked
about
crazy.
He even had prison cred and everything.
Yeah, all of that.
You know?
So it's like, he used to rob people. You know, he was a stick-up kid. As like a 10-year-old. So
right.
It's like, that was like perfect timing, and everyone, he became this folk hero for us. You know what I mean? Like I remember being on the brink of tears when Buster knocked him out. You know what I mean?
It was. You're right.
It was devastating.
You never thought you would see that. I mean, I could just remember being with a group of friends watching him knock Frank Bruno down.
Yeah, man.
And like these different fights, and you thought to yourself, every time you went out there, it was like Tiger.
Yeah,
you know, and again, similar to Jordan, where Tiger would never in a million years embrace hip hop.
Right.
Let alone anything, you know, as far as counterculture. But there was this feel and like this, sense of I'm with you.
Yeah.
For an individual athlete to get that, it's tough. But every single time Mike went out, it was like, okay, you almost enjoyed it being a 90-second, two round knockout, whatever it is. You didn't bitch and moan. Now you got a fight like that. People are like, well, I want my money back.
Right, of course. But like the thing, even with Tiger, like my brother was an avid golfer and he was good. You know, he doesn't get to do it much anymore. But I was like, because I don't know much about golf. I was like, how good is he? Is he Jordan? He was like, he's Jordan.
Right.
He's Jordan. Because I couldn't. It was hard for me to understand not knowing the sport. So
it comes on hot and you don't know if it's going to last.
Yeah, and it sustained itself for however long it did. You know what I mean? So, but like you said, he didn't really embrace you know,
he came up with a term Cablinasian.
Yeah, which was insane.
To try to distance himself.
It was insane. It's still insane.
Right.
But like Mike basked in that shit. Mike was hanging out with Uncle L.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was something there for all of us. And he captivated people where you had so many non-boxing fans. Now all of a sudden, you know what I mean? That had been gone since Ali.
Two things that I would never have done without Tyson and Tiger, respectively, is put on a pair of boxing gloves and pick up a golf club.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
That, like, literally, and I work in sports, and I can tell you
Right.
that as a certainty, I would not have picked up a golf club, maybe to fuck around every now and again,
Sure.
but not to go out there and be like, oh, I can actually buy a set of clubs and play. And again, you were talking about when I was younger.
Yeah.
But put on gloves and learn how to box, like take classes
Sure.
and learn how to spar because of Tyson.
There's fighters now that are far more, technically more superior than Mike, that are like, no, Mike's the reason you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I started fighting. It's crazy because they're better.
Do you get that ever when you were at shows, you know, you run into an 18, 19-year-old kid, and he's not trying to sell you a SoundCloud link, but it's just like, yo, Vin, I started rapping because of you.
Yeah, often.
And that's got to, like, how do you handle that? Because now...
This goes back to the ego thing, man. I think it would affect me so much differently if I was raised differently. I'm just humbled and thank them and like, yo, man...
But internally, because we're just talking about the same concept you can appreciate as far as picking up a golf club or putting on a pair of boxing gloves because of somebody that impacted you so much. And you go out there and you see it on stage.
I don't think I'm good enough to be influencing them, so I don't...
But clearly you are because they're coming up to you.
I guess. But
all right, I'm not trying to corner you.
No, I don't feel cornered. It's just I don't feel that way. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, when I told G-Rap what he did for me, it just made sense because he's the best ever to me. You know what I'm saying? When someone says it to me, I want to be like, I don't know, go listen to somebody else, man. I shouldn't be the one. You know what I'm saying? Like there's 100 people better than me. They should be the ones that influence you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, fair enough. Let me ask you this, because you do infuse a lot of sports in your rhymes, and it's a big part of your hip-hop life as well as your day-to-day life.
Yes, sir. The
Eagles winning the Super Bowl, I mean, I'm from New York, and I grew up an Eagles fan, coming down here as a kid all my life.
Yeah.
You know, in this city, being an Eagles fan like yourself, it had to have changed you at some level, them winning the Super Bowl.
Well, I told you I made the tour go around the fight.
Yeah.
I made sure I landed the Saturday before the Super Bowl from Europe. You know what I mean? To sort of gauge. I could have watched it over there, but I wasn't risking it.
So you were back here in Philly?
I flew home. I landed like less than 24 hours before it happened. So, yo, man, I wasn't alive when they won a championship. I was a baby when they went and they lost to the Raiders. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And
04 was a heartbreak.
Crushing. And I was too young to remember the Sixers. You know what I'm saying? I was alive. But I don't, the Mo Cheek steal and the layup or whatever is like, foggy. But I mean, there's nothing like that, man. There's nothing like that. And to see the animals from this city, big animals, fucking, it's like, I think a lot of Philadelphians sort of spend their time trying to debate how the level of scum we are, where I'm like,
embrace it.
Yeah, well, how can you not? Yeah. What is there? You can't argue it.
No.
So once you establish that you can't argue it, which some people try to do, and I'm not sure why, then what are two choices? To hate what you're about, or, you know what I'm saying?
You can't be a self-loathing
Philadelphia fan. The dude ran in front of a camera and said, "Big Dick Nick."
Yeah.
It's fucking art.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucking art. That guy painted a masterpiece.
That's
man.
right.
Yeah.
There's not a better nickname in the history of Philadelphia sports than Big Dick Nick.
Not
right?
to me.
Okay.
Not
Just
to
getting
me.
that out right now.
Not to me,
no,
man.
No.
Not to me. And the fact that he's apparently super religious adds some, comedy to it. Because I don't know how much he embraces it or not. You know what I mean? You know a lot of those guys. I don't. You know what I mean?
Doug, so Peterson embraced, because he's got a nickname too, Big Balls Doug.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is as good as Big Dick Nick, because it's like, it's the secondary part to the body.
Sure.
But Peterson actually kind of cracked a smile when he was asked about it, about the big balls Doug thing, and said, well, I don't necessarily condone it, but I love the fact that people are out there being creative. I know that Nick's aware of it, at the very least.
Yeah,
and
sure.
How can you not crack a smile?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He walks in that locker room. He's in a locker room full of alphas. Alpha of alphas.
Of course.
And he's getting praised not only because he's Super Bowl MVP, but because he's got the biggest thing swinging in the room.
I mean, what an incredible story, though, for that kid.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's fairy tale shit, man. It's like, kid is a sweetheart. Like, you know what I mean? Both of those guys, man. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen because apparently he's starting, the first game.
Probably the first 3 weeks.
So there you go.
Yeah. But it's okay.
Because
Carson's here long term. And
I'm good with it, I just, to me, it's the hardest sport to repeat in. You know what I mean? I don't know how accurate that is.
No, you're very accurate.
Historically, I don't know how accurate it is.
Patriots are the last team to do it, and that's 16, 17 years ago.
Or even to be a dynasty, I think it's the hardest sport.
Absolutely.
To be in there. I mean, you've had, whether it's the Yanks or the Sox or the teams that are constantly
Look at the Warriors.
Yeah, man. Yeah, of course.
You don't have that in the NFL.
Yeah, any team LeBron's on is going to come out of the East. You know what I mean? So it's like a dynasty in football. That's where I'm being a Negadelphian about it. Not because I don't believe in the city or believe in the team. I'm just saying it's so hard.
Well, what we had, the closest thing to a dynasty that I think we had was, and it sucks because it never ended in what we wanted, which was Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But the dynasty in the NFL is you make it to the playoffs pretty much every year, and you have kind of a shot, like what the Patriots have doing. They don't win the Super Bowl every year.
When I look back at that Eagles team that did that, I'm not disappointed. I hate that we didn't win.
Okay, were you disappointed before they won the Super Bowl, or was winning the Super Bowl changed your view on that?
Probably. But
it's okay.
But being there, man, is a huge fucking thing for a fan.
Yep.
Like, the Sixers eke in and lose. It's so different than 10 games. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm sure when you're in New England and you're a Warriors fan, it's different. Because you're expecting, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, if we go to the NFC, and we don't come out of the NFC, but we get there. Am I happy with that? No, but there's something to be said about the culture and what it does for the city. You know what I'm saying? To just have a good team. Yep. You know what I mean? And as basketball is my second favorite sport, and it's been brutal. You know what I mean? It's just been rough. And these kids are so fun to watch. You know what I mean? I love Joel so much as a human being,
right?
That it's just re-energized me in terms of, because I watched them when they stunk. I never fell off from them. You know what I mean? But
a lot of people did, man.
Yeah, I just love hoops, man.
Is that it?
Yeah, I just love hoops. I watch every, you have ESPN twice a week. You know what I mean? You have our home teams on our channels. TNT games. You know what I mean? I used to buy the ticket pass, but now there's so much, man.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I record on Thursdays, so I put TNT in the lab because to me, Inside the NBA is the best show on TV.
I agree.
I mean, I can watch Chuck and Shaq 6 hours a night.
Something about it,
It's
right?
fucking brilliant.
I know. Man. If they're smart, they would do a spin-off show and
Agreed.
have them talk about anything other than basketball.
During the other 6 months of the year.
Exactly right.
I honestly don't know why they don't.
It's amazing.
And they're sports fans, so forget it trying to cover politics. Just talk. Shaq loves Charles, the gambling degenerate. Yeah. He loves boxing. He loves everything. Just to have them.
No, you're right, man.
You know what I mean? Call it inside sports when it's not inside the NBA. Let them talk.
That's a fair. Somebody needs to get that out there.
They do.
Give us some royalties.
Yeah.
The Sixers are so much fun. You mentioned that. I don't remember, maybe back like in 2006 when you kind of knew that you had something with that Phillies team.
Yeah.
Watching them grow.
Yeah.
But this is as close, and I'm going to sound old, I'm sorry, but this is as close to, as a sports fan, watching a kid grow like your own. Like we're seeing Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and maybe Markelle Fultz.
You're seeing people's game develop, and you're seeing Joel. Like, should he be launching threes all the time when he can just trash everyone in the paint? You know what I mean? Look, the kid's got to put on 15, 20 pounds. Yeah. Look at Shaq's first couple years at Orlando, and look at his build. 5, 6, 7, 8 years later. He's still a kid, and he has to decide or Brett has to decide what kind of player is this guy going to be. I'm in the post all day if I'm him, because nobody can defend him.
Right.
Who can defend him?
Nobody not in the East.
You know what that's what I mean.
Even in the West, it's tough.
But realistically, who can?
Nobody.
Do I feel like he needs to be shooting the jumper? No, but again, it's like I try not to OD on shit. Like I will OD on boxing. No one's gonna go there. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Be able to break that. But I understand what has happened since dudes like Dirk came in, when it was unheard of for a 7-footer to have a pretty fadeaway. Right. I was like, yo, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the game has changed.
True stretch, yeah.
Right, but I also don't think Dirk was a killer in the paint. I think Joel can be.
Yeah, that's
where
the
he
balance.
could just yam on everyone. That's what I would be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But again, styles change, man. We've seen it. A team, when a team that lives and dies by the jumper like Golden State would never. They couldn't survive that style of play where you would just get elbowed in the nose.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, shut him the fuck down. That 80s Detroit team,
that shit's gone.
Dudes were scumbags, and I loved it.
Right.
But that style of every tic-tac foul, you got the Euro step.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, LeBron starting his dunk from the half court. It's cool. He's the best player.
Yeah, but it's
like
difference.
it's just a different. You know what I mean? I've seen dudes take 4 steps like it's nothing.
I know. It used to be only Ewing able to do that shit.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, and that was once he was the man.
Right.
But it's like the tic-tac fouls, so the game has changed, so I understand adapting to it. So I don't want to go to, you know what I mean? My critique of him is not one of an expert, because the game has changed.
No, but it makes sense, and I think that's the problem, and it's truly a problem that Brett Brown is dealing with now, is the balance of it, because now I just know from hearing him talk that he wants to launch as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like that's his mentality is, okay, Houston's putting up 25 threes a night, Golden State's putting up 20 threes a night. We want to be in that area.
Sure.
And people hear that and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of it.
Yeah.
It's like anything you do or we do in entertainment, you kind of have to go with the current and the
adapt
flow.
and die, man. The game has to, it's when you're playing, it used to be like, once we get to the playoffs, we're playing half-court ball. And it's like, now people are still running and gunning.
Yep.
In the playoffs. Like that was unheard of.
Yep. You're right. It doesn't slow down
it
like it used to.
doesn't slow down, man.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? You were playing half-court ball for all those years that I came up on it. Again, it shifts. The culture of the game shifts. The culture of boxing, shifted. It's these things, with CTE and all these, some refs call fights a little bit early. Things like that, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
When we were watching fucking John the Beast Mugabe, dudes, 15 rounds.
Yep.
These dudes are gassed after 6 rounds today, these fighters. 6 rounds, they're gassed.
Terrible.
Larry Holmes had big tits and a belly like me and was going 15 like it was nothing. You know what I mean? Because that's the other thing that people associate, that like a ripped body means you can fight. Larry Holmes was sloppy from when he was a kid.
That's right.
One of the best heavyweights ever, and definitely the best jab ever from heavyweight. And he always was just kind of sloppy, but his cardio was stupid.
That's
right.
right.
I mean?
That's the difference.
Ali was never shredded, really.
No,
you're
right. You're right. You look at the old film of it.
Very few. If you look at all-time greats, you go to the top
Joe
25
Louis.
Greatest fighters of all time.
Yeah.
You're really not gonna that shredded. You know what I mean? That muscle mass and the lactic acid that it creates. A lot of those dudes gas out. Those muscle-bound dudes. You know what I mean? Because it's a different. That body type, like a runner's body type. Right. That's more of that fight, that long rangey Tommy Hearns, the long jet. Like he was just a rail.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sugar Ray was never shredded. You know what I mean?
No, you can't move around like
right.
that.
The dudes who were shredded like our era were dudes who were on gas.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, Pacquiao had a 10-pack. He was on the gas. Floyd would be on the gas.
Yep.
Canelo was on the gas. He got caught.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, people on ESPN can't say this shit, but I can.
Go ahead.
You know what I mean? I know who's on gas.
Right.
Who's not.
It's pretty. Yeah, you could look at a guy with a 15-pack.
Yeah, and zits all over his back.
Right,
I know what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Again, that shit's liable if
that almost kept Piazza out of the Hall of Fame with
a
back knee.
Well, look, it's like Shaban, man, Bonds was hitting 330 and 30 home runs when he was like this.
I know.
So, I mean, as a pure hitter, he was one of the best.
If not the, yeah.
So, it gets weird there, man. It's
right.
It's like whack. his head was this big and now it shrunk again because I just saw it. You see him?
Yeah. It does. It looks like Al Roker when he got big and then got small again.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right.
And Cabrera, Cabrera was like this. And like people's, there a willingness to just be like, like if you say he's on the gas, they'll be like, no. And I'm like, yo, do you understand the body, these drugs, what they do, the results, the number?
Yep.
Do you understand any of this? Do you understand that when people said Pacquiao was on the gas and he clearly got off it, that he hasn't knocked anyone out in 8 years?
It's amazing.
And was knocking out big welterweights, and he started as a flyweight?
Yep.
And everyone's looking at me like I'm nuts.
Yeah. Oh, he just lost power.
This guy's on the juice. Right. What are you talking about, man? This guy's gassed to the gills. You love him. I'm sure people I liked people dabbled. There was times, man, where people did it, and now they're still doing it. There's different ways of doing it that we didn't know about. You know what I mean? There's ways around systems. You have VADA testing. You know what I mean? But there's ways. There's always going to be some doctor that's like, yo, there's this way.
Absolutely.
And there's this, you know what I mean?
To beat the test, yeah.
Like like Canelo got popped for the clan, and he said it was dirty meat in Mexico. You're the biggest athlete in Mexico, highest paid.
And you're eating shit.
And you're eating shit meat. And his trainer was a butcher.
On top of all that, right. Yeah, you got to think that one through.
So come on, man. Right. Just accept it, and the fight's happening. And if you like them, you like them.
That's it. Yeah.
Just cope with it, man.
Simple
you can still
concept.
Like Bonds.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think he should be in.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? I mean, Maguire is a little bit different because he's like a 230 hitter.
He wasn't a great hitter.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how many of them, would he have hit 250, 100? You know what I mean?
Maybe. That's a completely
That's
different.
tricky. Those dudes who were gassed for a couple years.
Yep.
Hit 60 and then disappeared.
Yep. Brady Anderson.
Yeah,
50 home runs in 1 year.
Yes, they were singing the Brady Bunch and shit every time he hit the home run.
Remember that shit?
Yeah, and the dude's it's like, come on, man.
Right.
Like, I get it.
Yep.
You're trying to optimum, you're trying to cash out, get a deal, take care of your family. It's like, well, we know. You know what I mean? But in boxing, it's so, it's like frowned upon to say that because the knee jerk is like, do you have proof? And I'm like, well, I don't really need if you want to suspend someone, you need proof.
Sure.
But me as a fan,
you can read that.
I know what's happening. You know what I'm saying? So if you're telling me don't say that or you got to get suspended, I get that. But you're not going to tell me he wasn't on gas.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, not at all. Listen, man, I can't thank you enough just for spending time with us.
Thank you, my brother.
Listen, we touched on everything from the albums, touring, what's going on inside your mind, which can be dangerous at times to get in there. But it's always a pleasure, brother, to be with you.
Man, I look forward to doing more of this, man.
You got it. Vinnie Paz, Jedi Mind Tricks.